It's Lilith here. And, I'm doing something a little different on my channel. Since I'll be playing Star Wars games for 2 days in a row for May the 4th, I'd like to talk about my stance on the Star Wars sequel trilogy, since I'm sure it will come up at some point, especially considering one of the games I plan to play is set in the new canon. In short, I like the sequel trilogy. I'll explain my defense for each film one at a time. First up, The Force Awakens. There's not a lot to say about this. When people point fingers at the sequel trilogy, that film comes up least. The only major criticism about I've seen is how it's similar to A New Hope. Well, The Force Awakens was intended to be a soft reboot of the Star Wars movies, so it would make sense for it to follow a formula that was known to work as a first story. Anyway, on to more detailed defenses. The Last Jedi. Firstly, let's talk about Luke Skywalker. I don't understand the whole thing about him being a symbol of hope that can do no wrong. Granted, I haven't read a lot of stories in the old expanded universe set after Return of the Jedi, but the first story I did read was Dark Empire, where Luke turned to the dark side. Using his words, "I'm a Jedi like my father before me," is a stupid reason to say he can do no wrong. Because let's take a look at what Luke did before that. He let his emotions get the better of him and fell for Palpatine's taunting to strike him down. He then proceeded to lash out on his own father and even took revenge out on him for his hand. But he realized his mistake. So, that doesn't mean he can't make the same mistake ever again. Next, let's talk about the revelation about Rey's parents. I feel like people really jumped the gun getting disappointed finding out there were no one special. I didn't think that ruled out the possibility of her still being related to someone important. I still stood firmly by my theory that she was related to Obi-Wan Kenobi. All she found out were about her parents, not her family as a whole. Next, Supreme Leader Snoke. I do not understand all the speculation about who he was. When he was killed, my thought was, good. Now people finally stop coming up with stupid theories about him. I do not understand why people were expecting there to be some grand revelation about who he was. Rey's parents were built up as a massive mystery in The Force Awakens, but nothing suggests we're going to find out more about Snoke. Anyway, on to the Rise of Skywalker. Firstly, the resurrection of Palpatine. I like that. A lot of people say he'd worn out his welcome, but I loved his portrayal in this movie. He felt more like a presence than a person, and that sent me a chill that I loved. I'm sick of people asking, how did he come back? Weren't you paying attention? Poe mentioned that Sith science knew the secret to cloning. Can't you connect the dots? But how? When? Who? Does that really matter? Some things are enhanced by the element of mystery. Speaking of which, let's move back to Supreme Leader Snoke, and in turn, believe that J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson were trying to undo each other's writing. Again, nothing about Snoke's portrayal in The Force Awakens suggests that we are going to find out much about him. I don't think Palpatine revealing that he created Snoke reveals all that much about him. To me, it just raises even more questions. Was Snoke supposed to be a clone? Was Snoke supposed to be a clone of Palpatine? Did Snoke know he was created by Palpatine? I don't want answers to those questions. Again, the element of mystery can enhance characters. Now, about Rey being revealed to be the granddaughter of Palpatine. Again, I thought people jumped the gun with the revelation about Rey's parents in The Last Jedi, so I still don't believe either JJ or Rian were trying to contradict each other. Next, the dagger that revealed the location of a Sith hologram. I don't think it's that far-fetched. I've seen similar clue givers in treasure hunting stories. Next, Rey kissing Ben Solo, followed by him dying immediately afterwards. People seem to see this as ruining a potential romance. But I didn't see that kiss as an act of romance. I just saw it as an act of happiness. Same goes for the kiss between Rose and Finn. And finally, let's talk about Rey taking on the Skywalker name. A lot of people see this as just taking on a name that was never hers. But I see it as a lot more than that. I see it as her realizing that it doesn't matter where she came from, what matters is where she ended up. She saw the Skywalkers as a family of heroes, so she felt like part of that family in spirit. I also see her taking on the name as a way of keeping their legacy alive. The Skywalkers were all dead, so she adopted the name so it could continue to be carried on through generations, and people would remember them. That all being said, I find Rise of Skywalker to be the weakest of the sequel trilogy, and I think it does have some genuine problems. Firstly, we never find out what Finn wanted to confess to Rey. I know I said the element of mystery can be an enhancement, but that doesn't really work here. A question was directly posed, and we never got an answer to it. I know we were told outside of the film that he was going to confess he's Force sensitive, but that really should have been answered in the movie. Again, I'm not contradicting myself with what I said about the element of mystery being an enhancement, because this was a mystery the answer was asked for. Secondly, Rose Tick was done dirty in this film. Going from a major role to a not so major role is one thing, but in this film, she was little more than a cameo. Now, to finish off my defense of the sequel trilogy, let me just say this. Don't you remember how much the prequels were bashed on? Don't you think it's a bit unfair to treat the sequel trilogy the same way films you love were treated? I once found a meme that took a joke bashing the prequels and edited it to bash the sequels. How can you not see the sheer hypocrisy in that? Anyway, may the 4th be with you, and hopefully I'll see you later on Twitch when I'll be playing Star Wars games.